Hello class, and welcome to your week 3 assignment for the Manual WBS, otherwise known as a work breakdown structure. The first thing I want to do is I want to walk you through exactly what we're looking for. So remember, we talked about documents kind of flowing. From last week we talked about the project charter, moving into the scope statement, flowing towards the work breakdown structure. You're going to do this Manual WBS, and then once we've got the Manual WBS created, that template is going to be used for the next assignment, which is going to be importing this information into Microsoft Project. But for right now, what we want you to do, we want you to go to the bottom of this. There's a template here, which is an Excel spreadsheet. I want you to go ahead and open that Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to see that we've created a template for you that decomposes the information in the project proposal. The project proposal told you that there were specific areas that were required for you to complete and that we had funding associated with those. Now, this is where we take the information from the project scope statement and we decompose that into a hierarchical, I'll say, structure. So every major element, every major deliverable or piece of the project is going to be covered here in addition to others that you may want to add. So the manual work breakdown structure is meant to be a template for you to come in and take a look at. The first thing to do, fill out the project name. What is the name of the project? The next thing, and that was level 1, 1.0. Level 2.0 is the feasibility study that we asked you for. What are the major tasks or subtasks that are required to complete that feasibility study? List those here in a hierarchical order. They don't have to run exactly in the order you would work them in, so don't worry about that, but they have to be tasks or subtasks that you need to complete a feasibility study. And those are going to be elements like 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. That's the hierarchical listing. 2.0 is the feasibility study. It is umbrellaed under the project name. So we're creating this hierarchy of all of the components necessary to complete this project. For many of you that have worked on proposals, you'll see that a proposal may be put together similar to this, and this would have been called a work package. That work package then is illustrated by all of the components that would be necessary to complete that project area, that work package. And those may be descriptions that were written as BOEs, basis of estimate type of documents, where you give yourself an articulation of exactly what that is required in a paragraph form. Here what we're looking for is a statement. What exactly is it that needs to be covered here? Now remember that we told you that you had to have a feasibility study, you had to have requirements analysis, specifications, you had to procure some hardware, you had to assemble the hardware, you had to test the hardware, and then you had to demonstrate the hardware. Now, you may say that this architecture that we've described for you here is not detailed enough, and that you want additional details. We've given you 3 blank areas here, 9, 10, and 11. You could add up to 15 extra if you want. You can make this document look as deep as you want, but use this as an opportunity to articulate everything out of the scope statement. From a traceability standpoint, you should be able to go to the WBS, point back to the scope statement, and say, I can find every one of those document areas in the scope statement identified over here. That flow exists. This is what we want to have ready for ourselves prior to going into Microsoft Project. So the next thing I want you to understand is it's worth 45 points. I've got a grading rubric in place for you here that talks about identifying all of those areas. So you must go in and create, I'll call it, a good clean listing of the major tasks and subtasks in that particular area for you. Okay? Once again, the assignment's worth 45 points. This is also another one. As the team leader, you should probably separate this out and break it down for people to fill in the major tasks or subtasks, other people on the team. Delegate this out. Hand the requirements analysis off to one person. Hand the feasibility study off to another. Hand the procurement side of it off to another. The testability side off to another. Identify for yourselves what you think, once again, those major tasks or subtasks are associated with that. Okay, that's what the work breakdown structure looks like. Once you're completed with this, we're going to move on to the next part of the assignment, which is in another area. But for this deliverable, make sure that the team manager or team project lead for this week, week 3, puts this in the grade book for us to grade. Have a great week. Goodbye.